right, so we'll start with the Ashaiman disturbance. It's a very troubling one we saw. I think the story started developing on Saturday over the weekend, where the news broke that a military officer had been killed in Ashaiman by a group of men over there. Now, following that killing, we saw the military go to that place, arrested over 100 people, in the process brutalized women, children, and all sorts. People who lived around that place were unable to go to work, go out because of the brutalities that we're experiencing. But if you look at social media or even the discussions, immediately the story broke of the death of the gentleman. Many people predicted or actually said the military will go there by Monday and beat people and arrest people. It appears that that action from the military is something that we are all used to and we all expect every time one of their own, is murdered. We saw that with Major Mahama. We saw that in Tamale last 2 years or so, and it's not any different, from what we've seen from the weekend to this point. I mean, how did we get here that now it's become a part of us that we expect or we know the military will act this way, brutalize people when a thing like this happens?
Well, I mean, it's unfortunate that it has become that way, and it has become a predictive pattern of the military, that when something happens, people are almost able to predict to certainty what the response, or should I say the reaction from the military will be. But indeed, these are worrying signals, and perhaps, may I say, a worsening relationship between the public and the military, a relationship we've been trying to build since we began practicing democracy or civilian rule. Like you rightly said, we've seen in the immediate past or the recent past a number of such unfortunate incidents. We saw the very dastardly manner in which Major Mahama was killed in, is it Denchira Obuasi?
Yeah.
And then the matter is still in court. The court is still adjudicating on the matter. I think the state closed its case some time back.
Yeah.
We also saw a similar thing in Domifase, where two military officers were beaten.
Yeah.
That one, it was related to some land matter.
Yeah.
And they were beaten. There was blood all over them in their uniforms, and the whole world was seeing them on camera, on TV. It's not the best, really. We also saw, and we've seen this one, you mentioned the Tamale incident. So it is not proper. When we train people or we put them in uniform, we are supposed to accord them some respect. We are supposed to see them as people who have been trained and people who have devoted their lives to protect us from external aggression. So it's very important to put that on record. So it is not proper that we treat them in that manner. It is not correct, and we must take steps to ensure that we don't see a repetition of this. It is not just the military's responsibility; it's a responsibility of everybody. Having said that, we also have to say that the military are not a law unto themselves. They operate under a constitution. They operate under laws, and the laws are clear about what to do in every circumstance. The fact that one of your own got involved in whatever and was beaten or killed does not give you the right to storm the community, brutalize everybody, arrest as many people as you think are suspects in the matter, take them wherever, and then later say you've released them to the military police, and then they will later be released to the police. You do not have the right to do so. We are not a banana republic. We are a republic of laws. Indeed, what they did was wrong. It must not be condoned in any sense. The activity they undertook is an activity in the domain of the police. The police is in charge of internal security. Indeed, the Police Act, Section 1 of the Police Act, lists a number of things the police is supposed to do to prevent crime, to detect crime, to apprehend offenders in this matter, in this case, and then to maintain public order and safety of persons and property. This is firmly, within the mandate of the police.
But was the police not aware when they were moving into the area?
And there's been some. You didn't expect the police to go there trying to stop the military. It would have been dangerous, more chaotic, and more disgraceful. It would have become a fight or a conflict between two security state
But their
institutions.
intelligence will not prompt them to know the military are moving,
No, the police, when you look at the police and the military, for some reason, the police feel inferior to the military. I don't know what the cause of that is. And, every now and again, they've been involved in some, conflict. Yeah. The military is beating the police a few times. I remember at 37 and a few other places. We've seen those, many times. The police will not want to get into that. If there's something to do at all, they may want to resolve it at the higher level, at their boss's level. Yeah. But what is frustrating for me is the apparent lack of any response from the police on this matter. Yeah. I don't know if they've spoken about this yet, but they've been so quiet. Meanwhile, this fell within your purview. We don't know what they are doing as it relates to investigations. We don't know. And the military said they were looking for the perpetrators of the crime. Details are sketchy though, but it appeared the guy was unfortunately killed in the night. How are you going to locate the people? You have no idea of who the people are. And now you are going into the communities looking for people in ghettos, etc. We don't even know who killed the person, unless, of course, they know and they are not telling us. But it doesn't appear that they know, unless, of course, they were doing so people with information will begin to speak.
Yeah, will speak, yeah.
But that is not how to approach it. And you storm the community with helicopters and a whole lot. It's a war zone. And I think the people of Ashaiman deserve better. We do not have to treat people, the way we've seen the military behave. The very unfortunate part is hearing the defense minister, hearing his deputy speaking on the matter. Nitu just said that we must respect people in the uniform, and then he won't say anything again. I thought he would have gone a step further to also say that even though what the people did was wrong, or whoever did so was wrong, he thought that the action of the military was also, a bit harsh. And you leave it at that. We know you are their minister, you are their boss. Yeah. But the difficulty I think a lot of these people have is that they think speaking the truth to them or calling them out, will not be solidarity. But solidarity doesn't mean when somebody is doing something wrong, you keep encouraging the person or you don't call the person out. That is the difficulty we have. And once we do not correct that, they will do this again tomorrow. And we don't know who will be involved in it. Anybody who was caught in the action would have been apprehended as well. And we don't know who that could be. Could be me, could be you, could be anybody. Yeah. And the people who are quiet
videos of women being beaten,
it is wrong. Nobody should be beaten in that manner.
But what exorcism?
Of course, because they are not trained to exercise that level of judgment. The police are. That is why internal security and public order, etc., are left to the police to manage. Okay. So for the military to get into that fray, I think it was wrong. The last time I saw something like that was on TV during the Hamas-Israeli war, when they said an Israeli soldier was missing. They thought he was in the Palestinian territory. Okay. And so the soldiers were moving from house to house, brutalizing and vandalizing everything, looking for their colleague. In the end, they realized that the guy was dead. But they had caused a lot of havoc to innocent people who had no knowledge about it. We are not in a war zone. We are not in a society that's in conflict with itself. I think the military must be called out. And I think that, we must learn to do things right. It's unfortunate that we've not heard anything till date from the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. He's not said...
Well, the PRO has released a statement.
The PRO is not...
To state the position.
No, he is not the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. And the PRO does not have a mandate to protect us as citizens. The people in Ashaiman are also citizens. So the president cannot hide behind the statement of the military, which itself has problems, to say that the military has spoken. If it were something good, the president would have come to say it himself. If they go to donate cars and bill for the military, is it the PRO that comes to talk for them? The president, as a matter of fact, should have spoken by now on this. And yesterday, he addressed the nation. A lot of us were expecting that he would spend some time on this. But from all I heard, this matter was quite missing, or was very missing. And that is the state of the nation. On the day or a day before your address, a major thing like this had happened. And you couldn't even spare one line on this. I think it was unfortunate. The people who manage the president must bring this to his attention. He's not been tweeted about it. He's not done anything. Meanwhile,
he's waiting for investigations to be completed, so he has a full
investigation to be completed for what? That people have been beaten, and all the 184 people the police said they arrested killed the guy. It is wrong. People's rights have been violated. It is his duty to protect us, and it is duty to also uphold the Constitution. He has a dual role in this. He's a president for the entire country, and he's also the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. The gentleman killed. Whatever happened, we don't know. is also a citizen of Ghana, and he's also a member of the armed forces. He owes him a duty as well, the same way he owes us a duty. So to be quiet in this matter, for me, is a no-no.
Richard, does the military have a right to conduct investigations in matters related to their own?
Certainly not. The authority under which the military operates, it's firmly grounded, first of all, within the ambit of the 1992 Constitution, because they are expressly set up by the Constitution and as implemented by the Ghana Armed Forces Act. And of course, they have regulations that guide what they do and what they do not do. And if you go to Article 210 of the Constitution, their mandate is basically to defend the territorial integrity of the Republic of Ghana against external and internal aggressors. That also includes ensuring that they protect the sovereignty of the Republic of Ghana. Beyond that, the Constitution and other laws may designate them, to do specific things as and when required. And we know how sometimes, where necessary, they use them for purposes of helping with how we police election, processes in this country. And some other, of course, we are seeing them deployed to deal with galamsey and some other matters. And the point has to be made that if you look at our laws, as Selorm rightly stated, the mandate to prosecute, to arrest, and deal with crime is squarely within the ambit of the Ghana Police Service, which is established by the Constitution and Article 200 of the Constitution. And then, as Selorm rightly mentioned, you have the Police Act of 1970, if my memory serves me correctly, which, empowers the police to deal with arrest, prevention of crime, and all of these other matters. So we also know that there are other state institutions that have the mandate to deal with other matters, so they can arrest where necessary. So YOCO, for instance, is there, the Special Prosecutor's Office is there, and you have the Attorney General also there, and the other agencies like the GRA.
So the military cannot effect an arrest at all?
Hold on, I'm coming to that. Yeah, that's right. So if you look at it within that context, there are allied institutions that also effect arrest.
Yeah.
So when it comes to a crime of murder, which was committed outside the barracks, which was clearly outside the domain and jurisdiction of the Ghana Armed Forces, they have absolutely no authority, no mandate, no power, and no jurisdiction to have gone out there to do what they did. What they did there was barbaric, it was irresponsible, it was unconstitutional, and it was unlawful. And every well-meaning Ghanaian with an eye on the need to defend the Constitution of the Republic and all other laws would have to condemn that. Now, let me be quick to add that if you look at the provisions of Article 31 of the Constitution, the President of the Republic, who is the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, as designated by the Constitution, has the power to impose, a state of emergency on any part of Ghana or the whole of the country. Yeah. But there must be facts to justify that. And when that declaration is made, the Constitution, still within the remit of Article 31 of the Constitution, requires of the President to make the facts justifying the position or the imposition available to Parliament immediately. Okay. And immediately can be construed to mean reasonable time where Parliament is not sitting. On the day that these guys went to, Ashaiman to do what they did, of course, Parliament was in session. Of course, we do know that the President did not, because if he had, would have seen or we would have heard of the communication to that effect, that they were designating, Ashaiman as some trouble zone, and therefore they were imposing.
The military there.
Exactly. Nothing like that happened. Parliament was not informed, to the best of my knowledge, of any imposition to that effect. And therefore you ask yourself, on whose authority did they deploy the military to go and do what they did in Ashaiman? The respected Brigadier General, who is the spokesperson of the Ghana Armed Forces, comes out and tells us that, well, it was a sanctioned operation.
And it was a swoop.
On the basis of what law? He did not tell us that.
So are you saying that the military, in this case, the gentleman was in uniform at the time, went to a place,
but
was
is it even
attacked?
proving that at the time of the attack or whatever, he was in uniform?
You see the clothes, the uniform clothes on him, you know. He was in uniform. I'm trying to understand your point around the Constitution where they feel there's a threat to internal and external, whatever. This is a threat to one of their own, which means it's a threat to all of them. I mean, coming from that angle, because we see them taking that action, immediately there's a threat to their own.
No, it will be unreasonable. It is going to be unreasonable for anybody to suggest that because a person belonging to the military is unfortunately murdered, which not murdered, killed, because in this case, it's not been proven in a court of law that he's been murdered. What we know is that he's been killed. Murder is a technical, legal term, which we condemn in no uncertain terms. The military would take the law into their own hands and go about beating up people. That matter, to the best of my knowledge, was being investigated by the police and is still being investigated. In other words, they have invoked rightly, the police I mean, their authority to look into this matter. So the police have got to be allowed to do their work, which is firmly within their mandate. To go, therefore, wake up in the middle of the night or at dawn, move, resources that have been supplied by the good people of this country, paid for by the taxpayer, given to them to protect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of this country, just to go and beat up people in the name of arresting people.
They were looking for
it's completely reprehensible.
But what sanctions can be taken against the military for us to stop? This appears to be happening every time. This is not new. It's not. It's just the latest.
First of all, if the president was really minded by his mandate to protect all Ghanaians, as provided for in our constitution and related laws, and given his own promise, and let me read to you what he said in his manifesto, which elected him in 2016. If you go to the manifesto, he says that the MPP government will secure peace and security for all Ghanaians, and that the MPP government, Ghanaians will feel safe on the streets and in their homes. Ghanaians will go about their daily business in the secure knowledge that their persons, properties, and lives are safe under an MPP government, unquote. This is what the MPP promised us when they were seeking the mandate of the good people of this country to govern us. Now tell us, whether anything done or not done by the president over the last 48 hours or so demonstrates a commitment to deal with matters like this, to deal with the protection of Ghanaians. It would seem that the president has forgotten that mandate, so that the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces goes before Parliament to address the House, and the provisions of Article 67 of the Constitution require him to address us on the state of the nation. My reading, ordinary reading of the meaning of the state of the nation would include what happened in Ashaiman. So there was a clear case of presidential neglect, gross one at that, which is, with the greatest respect, reprehensible, where the president went there and did not speak about this matter. If you look at the president's speech, he celebrated the kinds of investments that have been made in the military. Talked about houses being provided for them, tools that have been given to them, armored cars, and all of these things. These things are given to them to protect us.
Yeah.
They do not turn these things onto us. It is completely unacceptable, and it is important that we do not allow people who call themselves ministers to come and justify things like this, although not in as many words. What's the meaning of we should respect men in uniform? Of course, every Ghanaian is to respect the other. None is above the law. If you look at our constitution.
You feel that statement was kind of justified?
If you are a minister responsible for defense,
irresponsible statement.
It is completely irresponsible for you to say
about his job.
You have not dealt with your men for the excesses that went on.
Well,
there.
we don't know that.
You did not. No. Please. I mean, you are speaking to the good people of Ghana.
Yes, and Sky, just a minute. Justice must be done, but justice must be seen to be done. So you go and talk to your military guys in secret. That's assuming if he did that, but he has not done that. Assuming he did that, and you come back and tell us that we should respect them. You've not even addressed our problem. You've not even assuaged our problems. You've not done anything. And you are now coming to rub it in our face again that we should respect the men in uniform. But you have gone to tell them whatever in secret. He's not done that. But he had no right to come and tell us that. He clearly doesn't understand his job. He thinks that siding with the military every time means loyalty to them. It doesn't mean so. He has to be a man of principle. Defense minister is a very important role. You deal with matters in a just manner. What they have done is wrong. They have violated people's rights. He doesn't see that. It could have been his mother or his brother or his sister caught in that crossfire. And he will come and tell us this. It is irresponsible. He just doesn't know his role as a minister of state, and even for that matter, as a minister overseeing a security ministry.
Okay, guys, I'll allow you to wrap up on this matter. I need to take a quick break, then we'll wrap up on this matter. Sky, I know you've not landed with the way you are looking at me. I'm really worried for myself. Yes, this is what the papers are saying. I'm here with Richard Sky as well as Selorm Adonoo. We're looking at the brutalities we saw in Ashaiman following the killing of a soldier there. When we come back, we'll take final comments from Sky and Selorm on this matter. Don't go away. Do stay with us.
Is this Nani floor?
Yes.
What is it with pig feet? No.
Ghana is a country that's full of historical antecedents and rich cultural heritage. What is a rich cultural heritage without soul food? And what is soul food without a touch of ethnicity? And what is ethnicity if it's not from your village? The season of all things Ghanaian is upon us, and we are here to celebrate an aspect of our Ghanaianness with the Back to Your Village Food Bazaar, happening live from the 25th to the 26th of March 2023 at the forecourt of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Come, let's treat ourselves to delectable, authentic Ghanaian cuisine from the northern, the middle, and the southern zones of the country that reflect our true cultural diversity. While at it, we'll be jamming to genuine Ghanaian music amidst games, competitions, storytelling, and so much more. Interested vendors of indigenous foods are invited to register. Don't let this be another missed opportunity. Call 0205-973-973 to book a stand and be part of the Back to Your Village Food Bazaar 2023. Anyamime, the country make hoto. So come, let's enjoy some good food, resounding music, heartfelt camaraderie, and remind ourselves why Ghana is still our home at the Back to Your Village Food Bazaar on the 25th and the 26th of March 2023 at the forecourt of the AMA from 8 a.m. each day. The Back to Your Village Food Bazaar is powered by Citi TV with support from Citi FM and is sponsored by Voltic Ghana Limited and Malta Guinness.
So this is what the papers are saying. My name is Vivian Kai. Look, I'm here with Selorm Adonoo as well as Richard Sky. We're looking at some of the big stories for the week. Of course, Ashaiman brutalities, the killing of a soldier there is still big news. Started from the weekend, still a big issue now. The defense minister has spoken on it. Parliament's Committee on Defense, some members have spoken on it, and a couple of other well-meaning people as well. Richard and Selorm, I'll take your final comments on this matter, the way forward, how we're going to deal with what we're seeing with the military taking action every now and then, and of course the excesses we saw.
There are three things, in my view, that should be done immediately, and they may be considered. I mean, not in any particular order. First of all, If you look at the provisions of Article 216 of the Constitution, Shraj has the mandate to deal with matters concerning violation of the rights of any Ghanaian or anybody in the Republic of Ghana. And it makes it clear that their functions or duty include a duty to investigate complaints of violations of fundamental rights and freedoms, injustice, corruption, abuse of power, and unfair treatment of any person by a public officer in the exercise of his official duties, unquote. And if you go to Article 295 of the Constitution, a public officer is basically somebody who is paid, from the public purse or money that is allocated by Parliament and all of that. So, in my view, my respectful view, Shraj may have to look into this matter, and a complaint may have to be filed by a person affected or a person who is interested in this matter. It could be led by somebody from within the community. That's one way of dealing with the matter. And the Shraj will look into the matter and deal with it. Of course, there will be questions about whether or not Shraj should be investigating the military and all of that, but that's a matter for the courts to determine if it comes down to it. But my respectful view is that they could go into it. Otherwise, Parliament is properly suited to deal with the matter. But I am highly disappointed that the committee is telling us that it will not go into the constituency until next week Thursday,
because it may affect investigation, it may compromise.
I don't look. People have been
beaten.
Some have received treatment in hospital, as we understand it. Some have swollen faces. Some have broken jaws. Some have all kinds of things. People were made, according to some of the reports, to allegedly eat cow dung and to drink infested water. These are very serious matters, and if you are the representatives of the people, you act with dispatch. How does going to the constituency to speak to some of these people really compromise investigations? Is the whole constituency a crime scene? Or is the whole community of Ashaiman a crime scene so that when you step in there, you might contaminate evidence? By the time you go there on Thursday, the swollen faces would have, subsided. People's homes that have been damaged, perhaps they may have repaired them. So I think that Parliament is not providing leadership. The civilian administration of this country is not providing the kind of leadership that will send the right signal to the military that you are not laws unto yourselves. You act within the confines of the Constitution and related laws. And where you act in excess of constitutional and legal requirements, we have the authority to deal with you. Parliament says they want to deal with it, but they have to show a greater sense of urgency than they are doing. And I'm also disappointed that the Speaker, for some reason, although admitted a statement on the matter, did not allow the statement to be read because he said that there should be further information and all of that. The Member of Parliament needed to have read that statement. MPs needed to have spoken with firm voice on how the military misconducted themselves, because the military are supposed to be some of the finest people we have in uniform. When they conduct themselves in a manner that is reprehensible, we have to call them out. We have to tell them in the face. And for some reason, our Parliament thus far has performed below expectation. Alternatively, if the President is so minded, he may set up a committee to look into this matter. The circumstances surrounding the deployment.
Like we saw
unlawful
the
accidents, exactly. Unlawful accidents.
We even forgot to
let the
mention
facts
the
establish exactly what went wrong. Let's find precisely the officers responsible for these excesses, and let's punish them. This whole idea that let's give them compensation, that should be a secondary matter. People have been beaten.
So you believe first find the perpetrators of what?
Yes.
Punish them and then move to the compensation
part,
but not
them
the other way.
Exactly. And of course, I mean, we can do them concurrently.
But
the idea that people are emphasizing, compensation, we the people of Ghana will pay for that.
But when the military are punished, we never see it carry through because everything is in the barracks. So whether it's even carried through or not, we don't know.
I'm saying that we need to do this publicly. When Shraj is supposed to be invited or they are invited to deal with this matter, and for some reason it is established that they have the jurisdiction to deal with it, I argue that they do.
Yeah.
Their sittings would have to be in public. If Parliament is dealing with this matter in a robust way, their sitting would have to be in public. And we need to hear victims, what they went through, just like we saw at the National Reconciliation Commission. And if for some reason the president is so minded to set up a committee, and so far it seems that he's not even interested in this matter, that committee must be a fact-finding committee. It must establish the facts, the findings of which can be used to prosecute the soldiers who misbehave themselves. And finally, Vivian, look, nobody is condoning the dastardly act that resulted in the alleged killing of the soldier. It's unfortunate. It ought not happen. It is reprehensible. It must be condemned. And the people who are responsible for that should be found, put before the law courts, prosecuted, and the full force of the law exacted on them. Okay. And then also, let me use the opportunity to express my condolences to the family of the bereaved family. Look, it is a very tragic way to lose a loved one. To the mother, I mean, I saw photographs, heartbreaking photographs of how he was put to rest today. And it brings me back to the Major Mahama matter. This thing happened under which government? It's been how many years since this dastardly act was committed by some hoodlums in a part of the Western region, in the Central region? And for all these years, our criminal justice system has still not brought this matter to a closure. I think it is disappointing. I know that the parties have brought their proceedings to a close, like they have what's the technical word? They have closed their cases, exactly, and related matters will follow. But it is unfortunate that we have not been able to deal with this matter with dispatch. This matter ought not have traveled this far. Okay. It should have been dealt with within the first two years, or even within 6 months, if we were really minded to send a clear signal that it is wrong to exact more justice.
Well, I mean, just briefly, I still think that it is shocking that we've not heard from the Commander-in-Chief on this matter. We thought that, or we've been made to believe that every morning the president gets security briefing. And so is he telling us that on the day of the event he was not briefed on this? Is he telling us that on the day he went to Parliament to deliver the State of the Nation address, he was not briefed on this? Or because the document had been prepared already, so he had to read it the way it was? He couldn't have used pen to make some marks or make points there to just say. In fact, that should have been one of his opening statements, because he's directly involved in two ways, like I said, as a president who has responsibility for the safety of everybody, and also as the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. That was an abdication of duty, and I'm so embarrassed by that. It is not the first time. You see, what happens is that he doesn't make comments but on internal matters. But when something happens outside, he quickly tweets. He quickly speaks about them. I was going through checking his timeline on Twitter. He has spoken about Nigeria's election, congratulating Tinubu, whose people are even not happy. But Floyd. The American guy. I remember when what's the name? This Notre Dame. Quickly. Yeah. But remember when the tidal waves decimated parts of the Volta region? To date, he has not spoken about it. And many other things, he keeps quiet. Even Ayaw also well spoken, he hardly spoke about it. The Ejura thing, he hardly spoke about it. What happens is that if the internal pressure becomes so much, then he comes to do something big, like to set up a committee. That's what happened in the Ayawasu case. So he was not speaking. When the pressure became huge, then he got Bawumia or somebody to announce the setting up of a committee or a commission, which was big, to investigate the matter. Same for Ejura. I'll not be surprised if tomorrow or a few days later a committee is set up to do this, because he's not spoken. So we will now have to spend a lot more money and resources to make a committee sit, and it will be important. The president must always send signals to everybody. But unfortunately, we have not seen a lot of that. Look at the statement the military issued. The arrogance of it. You issue a statement and you say the armed forces also wishes to place on record that the swoop was not targeted at innocent civilians, but was an intelligence-led operation conducted on suspected hideouts of criminals and crime-prone areas in the general area. Ghana Armed Forces, however, acknowledges and regrettably some innocent persons have been caught up in the operation and subsequently suffered some distress due to the location they found themselves at the time. No express apology to the people who have been wrongly arrested or who have been brutalized no express apology. But you acknowledge that innocent persons were caught up in the crossfire or whatever. You don't have the decency to even apologize to them and tell them something. You just leave it at that, and you conclude by saying that the GAF accordingly wishes to urge the general public to provide useful information, support and to support the security agencies in weeding out criminals, blah, 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 blah. The arrogance of this statement. The date, no wonder the date was wrong, because they've amended. I see. They issued it in a rush.
Yeah.
No serious thinking went into this. I think it's an embarrassment to the military that they write a statement without. You see, people think that when you are hard or when you don't apologize, it means you are hard. So if you're in the military, you don't have to apologize. It's a certain thinking that is so wrong. I don't know if it's cultural or not, that a man must not do something. Military people are men, so you don't have to apologize. You've made an error, and you admit that innocent people might have been caught up in the operation. So apologize and tell them something that will assuage their pain. You don't say anything like that. Now you go ahead to tell us to give you useful information. We shouldn't be shielding criminals. All the 184 persons were involved. It is wrong, and no wonder they behave this way, because their boss himself hasn't seen reason to condemn or even speak about this. So that's what will happen. So I'm not sure with this trend or with the trajectory we are on, we are going to see an end to this. It won't happen.
And Vivian, quickly, look, if you look at the provisions of Article 14 of the Constitution, there's a requirement that when you arrest a person and you have not been able to do anything about that person, or you intend to do something about the person, you need to bring that person within 48 hours before a court of law, right? And if after 48 hours, really, you have not done that, you should release the person. When did they say this thing happened? On the 7th, right? Yeah. A day after 6 months. Yeah. Today is when? It's been 2 days since they did what they did. The people are still in custody. So where is the respect for the Constitution?
They've released them.
Some of them.
They've released some of them.
Some of them.
70s.
They said, yeah, they said
184.
They said they are still keeping
release everybody.
Have they brought them before a court of law? Has the judge, said that yes, it is lawful that
the president is quiet.
And the president who wrote to power on the basis of his respect for human rights and protecting human rights is still silent on this matter. These are very serious matters.
The Attorney General, who has responsibility for justice, is quiet.
Even if these people are murderers or they are terrorists, suspects in that sense, they have a right protected by the Constitution. And people who say that their mandate is to protect the good people of this country and also respect the Constitution have got to do the needful. It is embarrassing.
Right. So this is what the papers are saying. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at the shortage of vaccines. The Minister of Health has spoken. Good enough, convincing enough. What next? We'll look at that when we come back. Do stay with us. Please don't go away.